You're listening to the SoleStrategies podcast hosted by the team here at SoleStrategies. We hope you like the latest episode and thanks for tuning in.
And we're live. All right, everybody, welcome to episode 19 of our SoleStrategies podcast. And today we have a special guest with us. Would you like to introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about who you are and your campaign and what you're doing?
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Lakshmi Gopal. I am a Bronx native who's running for city council in District 15. And a little bit about myself. So I was born and raised in the Bronx. I'm a first generation Guyanese American who is just dedicated to community, really passionate about bringing actual reform to the Bronx, and excited to be talking about our campaign, the political moment right now, and what we can be doing to build a better Bronx together.
Love it. So what made you first decide to run? I know that's like a big decision to make, but what was like my Google Home started talking, but what was one of the issues that made you decide that this is something that you need to do and get active in?
Yeah, so I've been a community organizer for over 5 years. I've done campaigns that are rooted in economic justice and racial justice, both on a national and local level. I've worked on campaigns like Fight for 15, Fair Fares that brings actual affordable Metro cards and access to transit to the Bronx. I've been involved in public housing, organizing, and even a year-long impeachment campaign against Trump. And so I've been doing this work, working with community, both on issues and in the electoral space for years now. And I came home after the Bernie campaign to the Bronx in the middle of the summer at the height of the pandemic, and I couldn't stop thinking about what we needed to be doing in order to continue to not only build our communities, to keep sustaining us and making sure that we're thriving, but also really take a step back and take a look at how our safety nets are not there. And so really doing all the community organizing that I've been doing and coming back during this pandemic and seeing how hard the Bronx was hit, I took a moment to think through what accountability looked like. Where can we actually be shifting power? How can we have the direct investment and the love and the care that these neighborhoods deserve, my neighborhoods deserve? And I decided to run for city council because I think that is the place in which we can shift a lot of the power. That's where the budget is. It's where our tax dollars are actually being allocated back to us. And I think having community organizers and community input in those decisions has been something that has not necessarily been the case in the Bronx, especially in this district. And so really wanting to make sure that we're spending the time and that capital in a way that will help us get through this pandemic, help us continue to develop out our safety nets. And on a more personal note, I love the Bronx. I love the Bronx so much. I was born and raised here. It is by far my favorite borough, and I will fight you on it. It's amazing and wonderful. And, you know, my parents grew up here too. Like, they both came here in their late 20s and early 30s, and they attribute so much of their adulthood and their access and their opportunities to the beautiful, vibrant, Black, brown, working class immigrant communities in the Bronx that helped raise them, that took care of them when they were learning what America was, when they were trying to figure out their own footing too. And I know the beautiful people here and the neighborhoods here, and I know we deserve more. We've always deserved more, but from doing the work that I've been doing with community organizing, the work that I've done on the Bernie campaign, and just recognizing how bad it is right now due to the COVID pandemic and what we need to be doing in the future, I want to continue to give back to the place that raised me, raised my parents, and hopefully I can have kids here too. And I want it to be a place that sustains us and doesn't harm us ultimately. And that involves actual investment. And so those are some of the reasons I'm really interested in running for city council and dedicated to these neighborhoods in the Bronx, because we deserve more.
Yeah, I can really hear your passion in your voice. And just when you're talking about it, you can tell that you really do love where you come from. And that's actually really, really refreshing to hear, because you will get a lot of candidates who simply just want power. They just want to control something. They just want to own something, or they just want to have a title, or they come from wealth. So they just feel like it's their right, or it's just something that they deserve to have. So to hear you describe your city and your borough and where you come from, and to see just your face light up when you talk about it. I believe in you. I believe that it's something that you really want. So I love that.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I go hard for the Bronx,
I
100%.
can tell, girl, you going hard
I
in
do.
the paint. So since you started your run, you spoke about coming from an immigrant family and being a woman of color running. Have you run into any prejudices or any obstacles because of that so far in your campaign?
Yeah, I mean, I think being a young woman of color always comes with difficulty. We enter rooms and we're not taken seriously. We're not given the same grace of learning and investment, and also our experiences are sort of chipped away at in a way that they are meant, they you can have an experience and it feels either lived or professional that doesn't feel like it's up to par to what is expected politically, but those same standards are not set up for men, especially white men. It's not the same. And I've seen that across my organizing, across the political advocacy work that I've done. It's not something that I'm foreign to at all. I'm very used to being underestimated in that way. And so it has come up. But what I will say is the community has really resonated and been hyped about the fact that there is somebody who is young, who's from the block, who understands what we're going through, is really dedicated to our neighbors, our neighborhoods, our communities, and really, really wants to not get out of the hood, but continue to build a hood that sustains us. And so people are excited about that. And for me, at the end of the day, connecting with voters, understanding what voters want and what they need are at the core of what we're doing here. And I think that's the most important thing is to make sure that I'm never delegating, but thinking through solutions to our collective problems together with the community. And they're actually excited to have young energy, to have a woman do this. You've never had, in this particular district for city council, we've never had a female elected official
Oh,
on
wow.
any of the levels. So
Mm.
city council, assembly, for Congress as well. And so I think people are excited, and that's a testament to I think the politicization that's been happening across not only the Bronx and New York, but across the country. We've been seeing this movement, this progressive movement that is really kind of broken through what it means, what it looks like to be a politician, what it looks like to be somebody who has access to these seats and to have a direct relationship to community from a place of elected office. And so
Yeah,
I think people are excited about something new, and so that has been helpful. I think more so what you're describing, the difficulties of being a woman of color, it comes up. I even with like engaging with voters and stuff, it does come up. But I think once folks realize that, like you said, you saw my passion, I care about this place, I know what I'm talking about, and I've been doing the work, and those things start to speak for themselves and people resonate towards it. And that's all I can really be doing, and continue to learn and bring forth what people's priorities are.
definitely. I agree 100%. So you spoke about how this is being like a people-driven campaign. Have you faced any other difficulties because you decided not to take corporate PAC money? How has that affected your campaign? And do you feel like your campaign is getting the attention that you feel like it deserves without that type of support financially?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think it's something that I had no questions about, no hesitations about, and I did not want to take. We actually can't take PAC money at all for city council, but I'm committing to not taking real estate or corporation or police union funds, and those things just allow me to be more directly reflective of community without having agents of particular interests really show up in the way that I can actually work with community or be leveraged in a certain way that ultimately can harm community. So it was never a question about whether or not I was going to take it. Definitely did not want to, but it does. Money gives you access to voters, gives you visibility, and gives you an opportunity oftentimes to be speaking to our community, thinking through the ways that we can actually be in this moment, using the campaign and not waiting for when hopefully I am the city councilwoman to actually be doing the work. And so it's limiting in the fact that we can't do as many food distributions, we can't do as much
Right.
mutual aid, and there's wonderful groups in the Bronx who are doing this work.
Mm-hmm.
But our campaign is more limited in that way because of the funds, right? And so we've been fundraising. It's we've gotten so much support from so many individuals. Hundreds of people have donated to us, and I think that shows. And it's mostly small dollars. like our average donation is less than $50 a person. And I think that's a testament to we're grinding and hustling with the
Yeah.
community and doing it small donation at a time. And that is definitely the way that I want to be running this campaign, even though it is more difficult money wise, but I think it shows direct relationship and commitment to community in a way that you can't actually do if you're taking money in that regard. I will say that one of the really exciting, promising things about taking these taking the small donor route is that we have a matching program in New York. So our campaign finance board, if you they will match you 8-1
Wow.
for every New York City resident if we're able to get 75 in district donations and $5,000 minimum for New York residents to donate to us. And that the matching is amazing. It's $10 donated becomes $90. It's an 8-1 match. And that is one of the reasons I think you're seeing a lot of people of color, younger folks, grassroots campaigns come out for city council and other positions across New York City right now because of this matching program. It's very liberating to not have to actually be beholden to real estate corporations and police unions in any of those ways. Like it actually allows us to work towards and do these small donations so that we can get this matching and continue with that momentum. But I will say before matching hits, it's difficult. It definitely is difficult. It's a lot of hustle. It's a lot of grind. And I'm bringing the energy that I had at the Bernie campaign where I ran a portion of our national canvassing program. To be able to bring that, knocking doors, talking to community one by one, we're able to do it. And that's the foot groundwork that I'm committed to and my campaign's committed to. And it's showing up dollar by dollar. And we always can use way more support to get us over that finish line too.
Yeah, it really does even the playing field, I would say, because like you were saying, you get a lot of people more like yourself, people who are young or old, people who just genuinely care about the people in their area and really do want to see change in their communities. When you have programs like the one you're describing, or when you have those multiple people donations, it creates more of a movement and it gives you that energy and that support that you really need to make a change. And it's more profound that way, because it's not, you didn't get support from these 3 businesses and that's how you got to this got to this position, or you're just not taking money or beholden to one industry. You're able to really represent the people when you run your campaigns the way that you guys are choosing to run yours. So that's a really smart move, and it's actually a move that's actually going to help the Bronx rather than just be another face on the council. So that's
definitely agree with you.
Okay, so what are some of the steps that you believe are necessary in helping us get back to a new normal in the Bronx and in America post-COVID, if there is such a thing?
Post-COVID, yeah. I think, a new normal is never good enough. I will say that 100%. I've said it in a different way, but normal has never been good enough, especially for the Bronx, especially for this district. We have been making sure that we're supporting each other. There's lots of mutual aid here. But it's existed before COVID. And I think that's a testament to a lack of good accountability relationship to government, right? And so we've been making sure that nobody leaves the living room or the cookout hungry. We've been making sure that people get to their doctor's appointments. That is the culture that's here. And you see it across neighborhoods, on the block. Everyone feels really invested in how people are doing, and that's a beautiful thing in the Bronx specifically. But I will say that a new normal needs to be redefining that social contract with government, holding government accountable to our actual needs, and pushing for things that are services that are not sort of piecemeal, that kind of solve these like random issues that sometimes get highlighted, but more so helping build an infrastructure that actually sustains us long term. And I think that's really what the new normal is. And that there's a huge opportunity to do that on city council, because it is budget reform. It is direct investment in contracts, in infrastructure, in what affordable housing looks like, in jobs, right? Or one thing that's really exciting is we can actually pass healthcare for all via city council. And that is something that is exciting, and it can actually help so many Bronxites and people in the neighborhood make decisions that feel empowering and the best for themselves and their families when they're not having to be boggled down by the potential debt of medical care, or folks are not able to make rent because affordable housing right now in the Bronx, affordable housing units in this particular district are priced so high, and actually the gap between what the average median income is for salary is so much lower. We're at about 21,000 average median income for this district, yet a lot of the housing units for a single person, it's a requirement of about 60K, which feels unreachable, which is what it is. So I think it's redefining everything from what affordable housing really is in this district, redefining our accountability relationship to government, reminding government that those are our tax dollars. We should have more decisions about what that looks like. I also think new normal needs to be a town hall culture, community center culture. I think making sure that we're having opportunities for participatory budgeting. So that's when people in the community get to come together, similar to community boards, and actually go through what are the potential things that can be utilized in this budget and have a vote. And then that be the thing that holds the representative, whoever's in elected office for city council, actually accountable to that's what people want. So that's what I'm going to vote on. And having that feedback loop constantly in place in that infrastructure. Because right now, there isn't anything formal in that way. And I think it's really important to give people an opportunity to come together and be like, I actually support this, or I don't, or listen to why. So often people run campaigns and then don't do the work of continuing to be in relationship and conversation with community. And so it's all about redefining what government is, redefining our relationship to it, and redefining the access that we deserve.
Hey, you're listening to the SoleStrategies podcast. Take a moment to listen to some of our esteemed champions and their takeaways from the program.
Thank you, Z and Michael, and everybody else in SoleStrategies for reaching out and making sure that we are all part of something bigger and giving us the resources that we may not have even looked for.
Head over to SoleStrategies.com now to find out more information.
I think you're absolutely right. I think it's even beyond redefining, because it seems like there's a point where we've come into politics, especially just nationally, where there is no relationship between elected officials and the people who voted. Usually it does just completely end after the votes. And a lot of times, even during the process of getting them elected, there's just such a huge disconnect that by the time they make it to the House or to Congress or to the White House or just to the city council locally, even your precinct chair or whatever, there's no more relationship whatsoever. And exactly what you were saying, it's so important. And it's just crazy to me. It was like clicking in my head when you were saying that. It's like, wow, we literally elect people and then never hear from them again. And that's sad, because it's like, who are you really representing and what are your real motives for being here? Because when you really look back on it, it's like your motives couldn't be to help empower the community or whatever it was that you were running your platform on. Because once you've reached this level and once you've got elected and reached that level of success that you were aiming for, you have completely disregarded those who helped you get there. So it's really important to do, like you said, is to just build a relationship and sustain it, because I feel like a lot of times there is just none.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, being a community organizer, relationship building is 101. It's how you get anything done, because it's how you not only give a person or give a community a chance to express where they're at, but you also are actively listening to build solutions together. And I think that is something that is completely missing from elected officials or our relationship and accountability to one another. And, like you just said, elected officials don't talk to folks in the community. My mother and I are both what you would call prime voters. We vote in every election, special, primary, all of it. Have we ever been called? No. Have we ever been door knocked? No. And I think, that's also part of it too, is like folks are not reaching people across the neighborhoods in a way that sustains a relationship, right? And so people are oftentimes just left in the dark. And like when we've been door knocking and out in the community these last few weeks, and people are just excited to get political education at the door. They're like, oh, there is a chance to elect a city council person. There is an election happening. Wait, I didn't realize that this was going on. And that is purely from lack of information sharing that is intentional and that
Yes.
is inclusive. And that is
Yes.
not because community doesn't care. Like we have a very low voter turnout percentage wise in this district and in the Bronx in general. And I would argue and completely stand by that. That is not because people don't care or they don't understand the importance of their vote. It's because no one's talking to them.
And
no
they're
one's
not
talking
made
to
to
them.
feel important, and they're just completely unaware. I was working on local campaigns here in Dallas. I live in Dallas, Texas. And when we were doing door knocking, you would go and people would be like, the same thing. Oh, I didn't know there was an election going on. I'm like, yeah, girl, we're trying to vote for the mayor. They're like, what? People literally have no idea because they're just not being included, or like you said, they're being excluded. You know, gerrymandering is a huge thing all across the country. And there are people who are making it their mission to make sure communities like yours can't speak and will not have a voice, because they know that if they're able to voice their real opinions and if they're able to fight for things, then they'll have to be included in a conversation that they've purposely been led to be kept out of. And a lot of people don't want the responsibility of having to include communities like yours, because that means that they're going to have to be a little less comfortable and things are going to have to change to empower those communities. And that's not something that a lot of people want to do. So
yeah, and you see it on a national level too. And so
definitely.
like the work that I've done nationally, the voter engagement work, right now, currently I worked on the general election, post Bernie. I'm working because I'm a working class candidate, so I have to have a 9 to 5 to keep myself sustained and in a good financial place to continue to be committed to these small donors and be committed to community and not be beholden to anyone else. And so I'm still working on elections. And the general election and the Georgia Senate races that are the Senate runoff races that are happening right now, you see this particular year with the presidential elections, the federal elections, how like transformational it is when Black and brown voters are purposely brought in, activated, inspired, and included in the conversation. And coming from a district that I'm hoping to represent and to be in community with, that is majority Black and brown, majority immigrant, and majority working class, there's a reason that there is low voter turnout here. And 100%. It's lack of intentional engagement. And you see it across 100%. The country. And you know, that's a testament to, I think, progressive politics and this interest of making sure that we're keeping the Black and brown liberation movement at the forefront of elections and electoralizing the country, everything from the presidential level all the way to city council. And I think it is being intentional of who you're bringing into the conversation, who you're making hyped about voting. Voting is a powerful, energizing thing. Like I don't know, the euphoria I experienced after, you know, I've experienced it since I was like 7, and I would go with my mom to the voting booth. I could barely reach up to it, but I remember feeling like, yo, this is so cool. I get to do this. We get to choose people. And I just think like voting has been, you know, played down on purpose, and it's been associated to the lack of government investment, when really what it is that you to continue to have better investment and better resource allocation and just more visible change, more and more folks need to come out, and specifically Black and brown folks. You see it. You see the change when it happens, and it's so transformational on a national and local level. And I'm committed to continuing to electoralize and just make it a broader interest and engagement and participation from everyone in this district who are registered to vote. Continue to register more folks to vote and understand the power in that. And also, people, when you're voting, you're also voting for folks who can't too. Undocumented individuals, people who are incarcerated, folks who have been harmed by systems that are not at all built for us, that purposefully are set up to trap us or to keep us down. And your vote is not just for you and your loved ones and your family members, but it's also for your neighbors who can't. And I think that's also something that needs to be in the conversation too. And we saw transformation happen on a national level, and we're hoping to bring that to the local level as well.
Definitely. And it all begins on the local level. If people really want to see like immediate change in their life, then elections like yours are some of the ones that are the absolute most important. You know, a lot of the times, a lot of federal policies and legislature don't even make it down to the Bronx or to Dallas or wherever. And if you really want to see change in your community, then it starts with electing people right in front of you to represent you right there. So you're doing some good stuff, girl. I support you. I like you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so how has social media and digital marketing been a part of your campaign? And have you seen any good examples of how that's been, getting your profile raised and getting more attention to your campaign?
Yeah, I mean, social media on an organic level has actually been really pivotal. I think, people get their news from Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
100%. Like when you go to the bodega here and people are talking about things, it's like you get your news from the bodega, you get it from Twitter, sometimes local news. So people are hearing what's happening in the neighborhood in that way. And so I think like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook are great ways to engage voters, to keep them informed, to bring more folks in to the conversation. And for one limiting factor I will admit is that Facebook ads and political ads in general are banned currently, and that is a direct response to irresponsible digital marketing that happened on a national level that harmed voter engagement and created a potentially dangerous interaction with information, right? Like it was not truthful, or it was just
Purposely misleading.
Exactly. And so I think like not having Facebook ads has definitely been a limiting factor in our digital marketing. Like we're not able to do outreach in a way that is much more targeted, or making sure that we're reaching folks in the neighborhood in that way, or in the district in that way. But I will say, like, going live on Instagram, tweets about like what's going on, keeping people updated about what we're doing on the ground, letting people know like the visuals and the stories of what's happening if they weren't part of this experience, is also some way to also keep it exciting. Campaigns can be and should be really exciting. Meeting your community members, hearing what they got to say, coming up with the collective solutions, like this stuff should be encouraged. And I think social media creates a platform for us to be sharing that. Like people get to see like, okay, they went door knocking today and these were the important things that I also care about this. And now I want to engage too. And so it not only helps people be interested in our campaign, but I think it also shows that overall a community that's often ignored and under resourced actually cares, has ideas, and know exactly what the solutions to their own problems are. And social media just gives you an opportunity to engage in a way of, it's like an entry point and a follow through. I think that's really how we use social media for the most part, and digital marketing in general. And I think it needs to be a supplement and a complement to what's happening on the ground. You are not, especially here, you are not going to reach folks, and you shouldn't depend only on digital marketing at all. You're not going to be able to do that. I will say digital marketing during COVID has been really interesting to watch. Like as somebody who's done community organizing, has had to communicate about campaigns, like we've done it in a way that it's been more supplementary. And right now it feels like everyone's home. And so it's an opportunity to really get folks, or like most people are home, depending on your job and all of these things. But it's a way to get people engaged and excited and interested in what's happening. And so it is definitely a place to cultivate support and to cultivate interest and to ask people where they're at. But I do fully believe, especially as somebody who is very field forward in campaigns, I think you have to complement it and make sure that it sustains your field message, but that you're meeting people where they're at. And some of them are online and some of them aren't. And we kind of have to do a combination of those two things.
Definitely. Okay, good. So what is one thing that you want the people to take away from this interview today? What is the impression that you want them to leave with?
Yeah. I think the impression, honestly, is that we deserve so much more. And this is everybody from the Bronx to New York to the rest of this country. We deserve so much more. And I really encourage folks to get involved in local elections, to get involved on community boards, to get a sense of what is happening on a local level. Like you said, federal stuff, it matters and it's important, but it doesn't hit your backyard the same way. Right. And so really understanding like we are deserving of sustainability, of more than just survival, barely, especially in a place like the Bronx, in this particular district where you've seen it be just inadequate. And so just know that you're deserving, know that we deserve more, and that there are ways to work with government and push government to be better, to better serve us. And I think that is a relationship I'm really dedicated to being in communication about in the neighborhood, so folks know that this is possible. We've been doing a lot of political education about what city council can do, and like that there is this election, and people are really resonating towards that. And so just know we're more deserving than the things we currently have, and we can and we do have the power to push for what we deserve, and that starts on a local level.
I love that. We are more deserving. You need to make that like one of your slogans. Put it on a t-shirt and sell it.
We should put that on a t-shirt.
Sure. I love that. I'm gonna walk away.
We are, yeah. And I can and like if you're, folks who are interested in bringing progressive energy to the Bronx, making sure that we're actually utilizing these budget fights that are going to be happening and budget allocation that's going to be happening to better serve our communities and do a reallocation of resources, can definitely join us at gopalforthebronx.org/join the fight. You can sign up for volunteering. We are creeping up to a fundraising deadline right now. And so we're looking for small donors, $10 or more, New York residents, in-district residents who are interested in seeing this particular campaign continue to do the work that we're doing now of political education and mutual aid and just reaching out to communities and continue to bring that energy to city council. Every dollar counts, every bit counts. And I promise, and my team promises, to continue to give that back directly to community and continue to run a campaign that is of value and that is has moral integrity, and that is really developing and focused on building a better Bronx together.
All right. Well, I definitely believe in you, and I can feel your energy and your excitement. And I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today and let everybody hear your platform and hear the great things that you're going to be doing in the Bronx.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's, as you said, I'm always hyped to talk about the Bronx. I'll talk about it forever. It's my home, and I'm really excited to continue to build here.
I love it. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys for tuning in with us. And hopefully we can have you on again soon. Maybe hear your victory speech, and you can come and give us a victory interview later on. That would be great.
Yes, manifest that for me. Manifest
it. I'm putting it in the air right now. You're going to win. Amen.
Thank you so much for taking the time. It was so dope to learn a little bit more about you, and excited to hear more about Dallas at some point too. Thank you.
Yes, next time, girl. Next time for sure. All right. See you.
Bye.
Bye.